expensive.
Oh, yeah. You spend
Everywhere.
Jeez.
Seriously, I would not be in class because of feeling obligated. Extra set of days. Yeah, because yeah.
Okay, I think my video's going. Jordan, will you check and make sure that the ticker's running up there? And I'll...
Yep.
All right, perfect. So, what you should have in your hands today are the student lab on the left side. Looks like this. Has a student lab on the left side, and then it has practice on the right. The reason that I have it copied like this for you today is to show you what copies look like that are intended for interactive notebooks. So when this class was not hybrid, and it used to be 5 days a week instead of a binder, we literally made interactive notebooks. So there was a lot of cutting and pasting and gluing and everything we used to do. But, so the handout you have today is a handout that's designed for left side learning, so they do this part in class, then they glue down their right side practice and take it home, and that's their practice page. Make sense? So that's why it's little and in two sides. It's designed as a teacher's to go in here. Capiche? Okay. It is also designed to be where students are going to build their own 3D figures. I have 5 labs in today's 45 minutes. I know we probably won't get through all of them. But we're only going to build the first 2, the rectangular prism and the triangular prism, just so you have experience in actually folding and taping and getting those together. We're going to use open nets and build those too. The remaining 3D figures I'm going to pull out of the closet, and we're going to use my ones that are already made so we can go faster on the last few. Make sense? So I'm trying to give you experience on all the different things, but you just don't have time to do the full lab in its luxury time limit. Capiche? Okay. So, that being said, let me pull it up on the screen. Let's see, it should be in my drive. This is 43. Unit 5 measurement, volume.
Take care of the kids for themselves. It's crazy.
Okay.
They lie.
Wish I would have. Wish I would have put batteries in my clicker. I didn't. That means I gotta walk back to the computer and flip the thing every time. Sorry about that. So our first discovery lab today is going to be about prisms, about volume of prisms. Do you guys need scissors? There's lots more scissors. Don't just sit there if you need some. I'll go get more. There's some here. They're all across the room. I've got more in the closet. There's 3 right here. Can you pass this down? Or 2? Thank you, honey. Any more over here? Now, does everyone have scissors? Yes. Okay. So remind me, what are the characteristics of prisms? Like, what's it take to be a prism?
It's gonna have triangles as the bases. Never mind. The bases are the same.
Okay, so how many bases are there, Hallie? Gotta have 2 bases. And not only do they have to have 2, those 2 bases have to be what?
The same shape.
They do have to be the same shape, and they have to be parallel in position to one another. Now, what are those faces called around the edges that connect those top and bottom bases? Do you remember what those are called? Some type of bases. I'm going to pull out my stuff. Yeah, I heard it. Say it again.
Lateral
Yes. And in all prisms, no matter what shape the base is, like here's a prism that has a 6-sided base, right? 6-sided base is a hexagon. There's 2 of them. They are parallel to one another on top and bottom. I'm not sure who said lateral face, but yes, all these faces around the edges, around the sides that connect the two bases are lateral faces. In a prism, what shape is the lateral face? Rectangle, good. You were thinking of pyramid, babe. Okay, so prism, they always rectangles. So this lab is a lab that you would go through the upper elementary middle level, like 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th grade, somewhere around there. So in the beginning of the lab, we remind them about the differences between linear measure, right, when we're measuring just the length of something, like the length of a side, or whether we're measuring area, right? In an area, we talked about this last week when we did dimensional analysis. Our units are always to what power? With area.
Square.
Always square, because we're multiplying those two units together. And this week we're doing volume. So this is the introduction of volume, and all of those are to what power? Cubic power, because we're multiplying 3 units together there. So, like we said, area is measured in square units, and that is the amount of space in a flat space, right? Notice there's a typo in this one. I did not make this. This is not a triangle. Somebody put a wrong picture in here. There should be a triangle right here. So formulas we learned before spring break, if we had an actual triangle right here, right? Rectangular area is length times width. Triangular area is base times height divided by 2, or half the base times height. And then any parallelogram, no matter whether it's vertical or slanted, right? Base times height. So when we do volume, we're talking about the base and the height and the length, right? So the volume of this prism is 12 cubic units because it takes 12 snap cubes to build it. So the entire space inside of it, the capacity, right, is 12 to fill it up. So here are prisms that we've already talked about their characteristics, right? We have 2 parallel bases with rectangular faces. What would this one be named? A rectangular prism. Triangular prism because the bases are triangles. Still triangular prism, they just changed the orientation, right, to make sure the students still recognized that the base is not always what it's laying on. So that's why they changed the orientation of the figure for the students. And then here we have another hexagonal prism with hexagons on top and bottom. Okie dokie, so the base we talked about, right, is the top and bottom. That's not even the correct base on that one. Where are my formulas? There's all the bases on those. I think that's probably one of the things you have to do in your lab, is it not, shape bases? That's probably, could be this lab or a different lab. The height, the distance between the 2 bases. So be careful when they change orientation on you, right? You have to always, if they lay it on its side and the bases are on the ends like this, the height is actually laying down. So you got to be careful of the orientation. Always find the bases first. Okay? Now, a net is any pattern that we can cut out of a flat 2-dimensional space and fold it together to make a 3-dimensional object. You practiced and played with some of these before spring break. Today, you just cut out 2 of them. One for a rectangular prism and one for a triangular prism. What we're going to do is you are going to follow along your discovery lab. I am going to bring you tubs of rice to actually complete the lab, because it's going to ask you to fill one of your nets and then do something with it, okay? You're going to need tape to put your nets together so that they're can actually hold stuff, and then I'll be by with your rocks. Okay? Kind of gross. Yeah, I should. What? You know, I don't know. We ordered more paint. I should go look. You guys might just have to get up and go and like rip like 5 pieces off and stick it on your hand and come back. Let me find something here.
Stealing. Oh my god. She does have one shape. I went over there so they say. I was looking over here so I see. Oh no.
They're going to some other country. Or a couple I know it's out of country because she
Lives in Walden, you already know.
It's on my chin and it's on my finger. Not so bad.
Very carefully out over his.
I'm gonna put one big tub on this table. Okay? And a couple of cups. Both are filled out with cups.
But that was just the she had lost her. It's the same price as.
Yes. Building these nets is not easy, which is why I make you do the first two. There is a lot of patience and precision involved in this. And making the students do this is actually a soft skill. Do you guys remember lesson 0 of this class? It was your 8 mathematical practice standards. Do you remember one of those standards is to attend to precision? Right? That is like what we're talking about here.
And at least the rice isn't gonna fall.
I'm making sure it's right now. I know.
Oh, she falling out.
Yeah, I know. That's why I taped it.
Okay.
High schoolers.
So you take your belly button as your O.
Okay, so if we look at your lab, step number 1 says to compare the bases of each of your prisms. Right? So you're supposed to be comparing the area of each figure's base.
I know.
Right.
You gotta take them pretty good for them to hold stuff too.
Oh, tape is still somewhere over there.
The tricky part is if you use cardstock, like if you use harder paper, it holds its shape better, but it's really hard to fold on the line.
Somebody tape.
I use like
Sorry.
8 pieces on this one.
I'm still on this.
Like green. I just like covered the hole.
Alright, so that our video is not like 1,000 hours long for our online people, we are going to work our way through all 5 of these labs in this exact same way. Just a new lab for each shape. Make sense? So at your table, you'll finish through volume 1 or lab 1. Do a couple of the practice problems. Make sure everybody at your table understands how to find the volume of those practice problems. And then you can move on to lab 2. And I will circulate, answer questions, make sure we are developing the right understanding. Sound good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,